Audio, everyone! Lawson here, back in action for more courtroom attraction. That's right, it's the 24th of October, 11:53 a.m. The Old Bailey defended its antechamber. And you know what we just did? We just said that the head of forensics team might have committed a little accident poo or so. So, now it's up to us to go against the grain of it all. And honestly, it's probably gonna end up by it. But, you know, it wouldn't be an Ace Attorney game without that. The Knight Errant himself. Oh, have you been watching from the gallery, Mr. Slums? I've been on the edge of my seat the entire time. Courtroom trials are fascinating affairs. As a specter, at least. I'm glad you've been enjoying yourself. I have to ask. What on earth is going on? It makes no sense. What's this professor business all about? He doesn't look like any professor I've ever met before. Who even is he? Of course. You were in Germany already 10 years ago. Yes, the professor. When I discovered he was the one who had been abducted, I sensed a foreboding stir within me. And who knew the monster would come knocking at your door? My heartfelt sympathies! As it turns out, Lord Van Zeeks is even more intentionally connected to this case than any of us realize, isn't he? Yes, how true. His great friend from university in the dock. And now a waxwork of the killer who took his esteemed brother's life makes an appearance too. I imagine even the shrewd Mr. Reaper failed to foresee that kick in the teeth. An extraordinary move on your part, my dear fellow, to throw that in front of the man. Make it sound deliberate. I can't help feeling that this professor case is really very puzzling. Oh yes, in what particular matter? Well, there's Mr. Debrer, Mr. Seath, and Lord Van Zeeks. It seems that everybody in the trial has a link to the case somehow. Yes! In fact, I, alone, am not a member of the seat. Though that leaves me as empty as set, all alone, with no other section to any other. Excuse me. Dr. Seath? Ah, Dr. Courtney Seath, niece Stevens. A good day to you. Hello, Shlomes. That was very shrewd of you. One in particular, pray. You requested a 10-year-old autopsy report from Grayson, didn't you? Why would you assume such a thing? Because Grayson told me. To think it's been 10 years. 10 years in the laboratory, wielding my scalpel. I smelled nothing but corpses and disinfection. A policeman on the jury had a lot to say about you as it happens, Dr. Seath. And I've accused you of being complacent in what happened. I'm hoping that you'll take the stand and tell the truth about what really happened. That certainly won't be possible. Lord Van Zeeks won't be summoning me as a witness. Lord Stronghart has forbidden it. Lord Strongheart? The Pandora's box you were warned about. He's the professor case. But please don't make the mistake of thinking you'll get any information about it out of me. But attempting to hide from the truth, that's cowardice. I've always fought crime in the way I see fit. I have no regrets. None at all. And that's all I came here to say. So, good day to you. She mentioned it too. This Pandora's box? Whatever does it all mean? There's really no cause for concern, I assure you. When the trial resumes, the meaning will become all too apparent, whether you like it to or not. Huh? Now then, I believe it's almost time. You must make my way back to the public gallery. The edge of my seat awaits. I think maybe you're enjoying yourself a little too much. Ah, yes! One word of warning before I go. If, in the course of the trial this afternoon, you perceive even a shadow of doubt about the truth, don't let it out of your sight. Pursue it like a dog with a bone. To the bitter end, you understand. Do not falter, whatever may come to pass. Alright, I understand. Thank you. Good. Shall make myself scarce then. I purchased a pair of caramel earlier, so I shall be gnawing on that as you gnaw away at the truth. What is that? Schulten's caramel? Schloms' caramel? That's literally what it's called. What did that warning from Mr. Schloms really mean? Wonder. Especially the bit about whatever may come to pass. It's time for the final chapter then. I'm determined to find the truth. No matter what! The 24th of October, 12:40 p.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby reconvene the proceedings of the court. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready and able to continue? The prosecution is ready, my lord. Yes, my lord. The defense is also ready. As the court is aware, the case under your scrutiny began with a damaging incident at the Great Exposition. And we now find ourselves embroidered in the details of a convicted felon who was sent to the gallows a decade ago. This trial will certainly defy all expectations. It seems to be fate of all these trials in which these Nipponese is involved, my lord. So then, let us begin our exploration of the defense's assertion that the waxwork was cunningly involved in this matter. Lord Van Zieks? My lord? Are we all still awaiting the arrival of Madame Tusspells? Not at all. She is in the antechamber as we speak, and ready to be summoned. Very well. Bring in the witness. At once, my lord. Bailiff, show Madame Tusspells to the stand. Things are about to become a lot more tense. If Trevor is responsible, as I'm sure he is, it means he must have had an accomplice. And Dr. Seath. And what connects the pair of them is the waxwork. Yes, the model of the professor. That's the key to the link between these otherwise unrelated individuals. It's a tedious link, admittedly. But at present, it's all we have to go on. State your name and occupation for the court, please. My name is Madame Esmeralda Tusspells. I am waxwork artisan, and the proprietress of the Madame Tusspells Museum of Waxwork. You will have to pardon me for working as I testify. My new exhibit must open very soon. Oh, so he finally gets a statue, does he? Now there are two of them in the world. Oh my, what expression she is carving onto that face! A number of days ago, a particular waxwork model was stolen from your museum. Can you confirm this? Oi, that is true. At first, we believed it had been kidnapped. A waxwork model? Kidnapped? Yes, my lord. There was a demand for ransom money left behind by the culprit. However, according to what I have been just told outside the courtroom, that was not the true reason. I understand it was utilized as a substitute for the body of a murder victim. At present, there is no more than conjecture proposed by the defense. This is the victim of the case in question, Mr. Odie Alsman. But of course, I know him well. He is a part of my odious personage exhibit. I detest to say what is evident, but Mr. Osmond does not resemble the professor at all. Yes, but perhaps our faces are very similar. Are you suggesting that we should see now the masked visage of the professor? I have here the key, but it is strictly forbidden to open the lock. Oh, it's literally Pandora's box. This is absurd. Pardon? I don't know what face you've carved onto your fancy figure beneath that mask. But clearly it won't be that of an actual killer. Indeed. The man's identity is never made public, after all. The trial took place in the closed courtroom. The proceedings were strictly confidential. The condemned man was summarily executed. His identity remains a closely guarded national secret. There is no possible way that a repository of Taudre exhibits could get its hands on that information. Well done, Momash. It would seem you are unaware of the Tusspells principles. What principles? The family Tusspell has always prided itself on sculpting its models a la perfection. Every detail, including the visage, is fashioned with complete fidelity. And voilà our principles. There's a well-known legend about the Tusspells waxworks from the time of the French Revolution. A member of the Tusspells family is said to have made a waxwork of the Queen, who was executed. Aye, that is true. It was a century ago now. I believe the Queen's face was carved in the minutes following her death, actually at the guillotine site. You are correct. The model is on display still today in the House of Orders. We Tusspells will not stop at nothing to obtain a faithful replica of our subjects. Dear me, a somewhat disturbing tenacity of purpose is the only way to obtain a truly lifelike representation of the subject. And it has been my family's secret for generations. Do you mean to say that beneath that mask? Why? The true visage of the killer is there. This is ludicrous. It's out of the question. The professor has spread terror throughout Great Britain. As a result, the Mount Tusspells special exhibit remains extremely popular even today. The killer, emerging from his own grave, is a sight to behold. You should come. I think, madam, it would be beneficial to hear your formal testimony on this matter. You'll explain every detail of this macabre model and your personal involvement in this creation. With pleasure. The Professor? Waxwork. The special exhibit in the House of Horrors is based on a rumor that shocked society in London. An impression of the visage was taken directly from the corpse, in accordance with Tusspells' family principles. I enlist the aid of the grave digger and created a model for the head in the ceremony. A cemetery, just before the interment. I hid myself until he gave me a signal. I was there for a very long time that night. As dawn approached, I was very worried that I could be discovered. She's so pretty. The gravedigger? The man sanctioned this? Aye. I will do all that is necessary to achieve the true resemblance my family is celebrated for. Nobody else knew. Only the gravedigger. What harm did it do, huh? So you truly saw it? The face of that monster? Naturally. I was aware at the time that his identity was a secret. But Tusspells will not be dispelled if we do not insist on absolute fidelity to her sculptures. I don't believe this. I myself have been seeing the special exhibit at your museum, Madame. A truly blood-curdling scene in which the murderer is emerging from his own grave. The scene it depicts was the subject of many rumors in London 10 years ago. I have here a newspaper from the time. The special exhibit was based upon the picture in this article. It was the most detailed account of what happened, as reported by the eyewitness who saw it. Oh, okay. Man rises from the grave. It's too absurd for words. The public enjoy absurdity, Mazor. That is why I have reproduced the scene as carefully as possible in my museum. It's a waxwork from the exhibit that was stolen some days before visited at the Great Exposition, wasn't it? That is correct. The professor you see before you here. Most puzzling. Counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination. This waxwork links Trevor to Dr. Seath. There has to be some reason for that, which hasn't yet come to light. I'll find it. I'll get to the bottom of what really happened. I'll prove that Dr. Seath and Trevor were in on this crime together. The Professor Waxwork. Okay, so let's press it. And that rumor would be a 10-year-old tale now, but one that no Londoner would ever forget. All right, I know just what you're talking about, I think. Of course, it couldn't be anything else. Yes, the story will never disappear. The tale of the condemned killer, rising from the dead. That is the central attraction of my House of Horrors. The rumor was whispered all over the city, and it was like this. It was locate a cemetery behind the prison in the dead of night after the execution of the killer. The interned professor slid back the stone slab, covering his tomb, and emerged from his grave. A young man who witnessed this felt a scream welling up inside him. But the instant later, he heard the ear-splitting gunshots from over his soldier. The bullet struck the emerging corpse, and he fell emotionlessly once more. The scream finally found its way from the mouth of the young witness, who turned and ran for his life. The corpse is climbed out of his own grave? And somebody shot him. Who? Who was it? Nobody knows, even today. But remember, it was just a rumor. Perhaps nothing more than a ghost story. The good people of London, they love stories like these. That is why it was in every newspaper across the capital. But it was just a story? I mean, this is exactly the scene that can be seen today at the museum, isn't it? Aye, the special exhibit was modeled on that very illustration. For a while afterwards, the contents of that article were reproduced in every newspaper imaginable. Madame, might I say something? Please go ahead, mademoiselle. When something is described as a rumor, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's entirely made up. I believe that often, rumors contain elements of the truth. Ah! I see that people from the East can be just as astute as the people of Europe. Can we be sure, for instance, the professor's execution was successful? It is not possible for the dead to come back to life. Sorry? 10 years ago, I was there in Gate Cemetery, after the criminal known as the Professor was killed by hanging. I took a wax impression of his visage from the corpse just before it was intended. So I can assure you, the man was dead. I see. Would certainly appear that the condemned man suffered the intended fate. Why is he silent about that? Hold it! Oh, let's see here. Is that true of every waxwork in your museum then? It is, assuming the subject is dead, of course. Live subjects have to cooperate in a similar way. I have met letters from imprisoned criminals all the time, you know? What sort of letters? When my time comes, please make a waxwork of me. Omeka. No? My museum is famous, Monsieur. To be made into a waxwork is an honor, and for some criminals, a symbol of status even. Guess nothing says hardened criminal better than wax. It is thanks to one killer in particular that my museum has gained such popularity in London. I refer to the star of the special exhibit, of course. The Professor. Whose form you claim to have captured by taking an impression from the actual corpse? There are no exceptions to the principle of Tusspells. No exceptions? Created in a mod Okay, so let's hear this. Surely that's illegal, isn't it? It would seem the proprietress of this repository of novelties was blinded by monetary greed. It had nothing to do with money. The man is part of London's criminal history. That is why I had to sculpt him, to record this history. It is the raison d'etre of the Tusspells Museum. But if the man was convicted in a closed court and sent for immediate execution, then surely nobody but the members of the judiciary present know the killer's true identity. I assure you, behind the mask is hidden the true face of the professor. Do you realize what you're saying? The professor's identity is a national secret. I understand. And now that the truth about the special exhibit has been revealed, it must, perhaps, close. Of course it will. As will your entire museum if you don't tread very carefully, madam. That could be another interesting chapter in the history of my family, I think, don't you? So 10 years ago, on the night of the professor's execution, you took a wax impression of his face from the corpse? Oi, exactamente. Okay, until he gave the signal. There for a really long time. Hold it! You were there longer than you expected to be? I had some difficulties in capturing the subject's form correctly. As I removed the mask, the mouth of the cadaver fell open. I had some problems with the chin. Dare I ask? The man had been dead for a short while already, you see. His muscles were relaxing. Consequently, his chin will not align itself correctly. Oh dear, what a horrible thought. Under normal circumstances, I would have an assistant with me. However, that night, I was alone. As a consequence, I missed my preferred window of time. What do you mean? When I take the impression of the visage of a cadaver, I always wait until 3 hours after death. Why 3 hours? Is that amount of time significant? It is because of rigor mortis. Rigor mortis? It's the name given to a phenomenon that occurs in recently deceased bodies. As a rule, 3 hours post-death, the muscles in the body begin to stiffen. By approximately 10 hours post-death, the entire body is completely rigid and inflexible. And from that point on, the muscles slowly start to revert to the relaxed state. The effect is often used to estimate the time of death when a body is discovered. Well, that was an education. A slightly scary one. As the mademoiselle says, rigor mortis commences 3 hours after death, and it starts in the jaw. I see. So that's why you wait. Before that time, the mouth falls open, and it is very difficult to do my work. It's hard for me to do my work with all this talk of corpses. I wonder about that information the courts just heard from Madame Tusspells. Oh yeah, it's significant, alright. Information about rigor mortis that you just shared with us. Would you mind including it in your formal testimony? I could believe it could be significant, you see. Of course, I do not mind at all. I can't help feeling that after this latest topic, the atmosphere in the courtroom has become extremely grave. This is no time for jokes, Mrs. Otto! Madame, kindly amend your testimony as discussed. Bien sûr. Okay, it took me a very long time because it was before onset rigor mortis.
Hold it!
Rigor mortis began being the phenomenon you described here, whereby the corpse becomes stiff after death. I think you said that it starts at the jaw about 3 hours post-death. Is that right? Aye. Is this, of course the exact duration depends a little on the season. I didn't realize a waxwork artisan would be so well versed in the subject. No. That is only elementary knowledge in the field of legal medicine. I had no idea about it. I won't admit to my arrogance about forensic science. I could ask my father to give you a very simple primer, if you like. I think courses should be your domain. Not good with them. Oh dear. I'll do my very best. Okay. Okay, it took me a long time because it was before rigor mortis set in. But wasn't it immediate? Was it not immediate? At midnight. How long ago was it? A very long time because it was before the onset of rigor mortis. And then right here. As dawn approached, I was very worried that I could be discovered. That gives us about a 6-hour window here. Because it took a very long time because it was before the onset of rigor mortis. Let's set up this one too, just in case. You say that dawn was approaching? What was the time of day then, approximately? Well, I cannot say. But when I left the cemetery with my utensils and wax, the morning light has becoming visible. The execution took place at the 17th of June, which had the earliest sunrise of that year. Indeed it did. First light would have been around 4:40 in the morning. That really is early. The fact is, I had very little time, so I finished my work in a half hour. It was necessary to complete the impression and bury the body before daybreak, of course. If somebody had discovered me there, it would have been a catastrophe, so I had to hurry. Is it me, or does Mr. Sloan seem to be taking shape more quickly now, too? You certainly appear to go to extraordinary lengths for your work, madame. I wonder, is what you said just particularly significant? Madame, those details about how long it took you to complete the sculpture and the early sunrise? Could you include them in your testimony? I believe they may be significant. Of course, if you would like me to. You're quite right, Mr. Naruto. It is intriguing. A sunrise at 4 in the morning would be absolutely unimaginable at home, wouldn't it? That's not quite what I meant by significant. Kindly amend your formal testimony then, madame. With pleasure, my lord. Alright, I hurried to finish my work in the half hour before sunrise. Before sunrise, so that gives her literally a half an hour. Well, let's present this. Press it. Do you have any reason to believe you might be discovered once the sun came up or something? I had paid the gravedigger money to keep my little secret, of course. But with the morning light, I knew that the warden from the prison would commence his patrol of the area. And you just have paid off the warden too, then? I had already paid the gravedigger, as I said. You cannot buy the silence of everyone, or the secret is no longer a secret, huh? The sunrise was at 4:40 a.m. that day, which means that would have been around 4 when you began your sculpting work. Oh, that must be correct. That would be when the Great Digger gave me the signal to come out of hiding. But that can't be it. That's all I have to go on? What's your feeling, Mr. Nardo? For some reason, Dr. Seath went along with your burst plan. Now, if that's really true, then the professor is the only other thing we know of that links the pair of them. So I feel sure that waxwork must be a clue to this mystery somehow. In that case, we must use this cross-examination to uncover exactly what it means. Otherwise, the jurors are sure to revert their leanings, and the trial will be over. I agree. But interestingly, uncovering what the professor has to do with all this means more to Lord Van Zeeks than anyone. That's the impression I'm getting anyway. Yes, as do I. After all, he has a profound connection with the professor as well. Okay, so we're kind of here before, because it was before onset rigor mortis. Sunrise, so that contradicts this, the autopsy, which just says midnight. At midnight, yep.
Objection.
Is that not where we object to it? Are we objecting to that then? Okay. Alright, fine. Technically speaking, it isn't on that, it's on the onset rigor mortis. So,
Objection.
There we go. We got it. Madam Tusspells! I have here an autopsy report that was filed 10 years ago now. It confirms the death of the Professor, following his execution at the gallows. And? Is that the problem? I believe it is, because your testimony and the particular detail in the report completely contradict one another. Yeah? Are you going to explain yourself, my Nipponese friend? According to her testimony, Madame Tusspells was creating her wax impression just before dawn. And at the time, rigor mortis had not yet set in. Am I correct so far, madame? You are, yes. As I said, the stiffening of the jaw is the first sign of rigor mortis, 2 to 3 hours after death. And the man's chin was limp, so he cannot have been dead for a long time. But on the other hand, if you took Dr. C's report, it quite clearly states the following. Death by hanging confirmed at midnight, the 17th of June. No. If the professor indeed died at midnight that day, then by the time you were sculpting his face, rigor mortis would have already set in. Oi! Yes, you are right. The chin would have been completely stiff. In other words, this report is wrong.
Objection.
No coroner makes mistakes when recording the time of death. The very idea is absurd. In that case, there's only one possible conclusion. The execution didn't actually take place at the stated time. Impossible! Order! Counsel, this is beyond folly! Not only do you indicate the author of the report, Dr. Seath, do you also implicate members of staff at Parkley prison where the execution took place? By heck! Extraordinary! Not mine, eh?
Objection.
My learned friend appears to have overlooked one very crucial fact. What fact? The professor died that night, without question. He did. Of course he did. I moved the man's lip jaw with my own hands. That was not... Yes, the professor died that night. But what if he didn't die at the gallows? Didn't die at Are you insane? What exactly are you suggesting did happen in that case? It's almost impossible to believe, but it would explain the link between Dr. Seath, the professor, and that one other person of interest. I have evidence that will explain exactly what I'm suggesting happened that night. Counsel, present the evidence at once. And we'll do that next time, everybody. Tee-hee! I also do not know what I'm looking for, but suffice to say, things are firing up. I like it a lot. That being said, thank you all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you can. Sayonara. Bye-bye. Mwah!